venomous snakes is, imagine surfing a tsunami.
These animals make a living by catching squirrels in their mouths. I challenge you to try that.
I would have probably minimum lost my hand because it just eats everything to the bone where it can't grow back.
In some individuals, there's almost this sort of greed for the animal.
I feel like I have the experience and justification for how and why I have the animals I do.
My family kind of disowned me when I got into keeping them, so that just made me want to do it more.
A lot of the times, it's my serenity to be in there and work. I know for a fact not an animal in my reptile room loves me. And that's not what they're built for.
What kind of snakes are they?
They're a 5.5 foot long cobra and a 3.5 foot African black spitting cobra.
What do you want with them? What are you going to do with them?
I collect
Really? Venomous snakes in your house?
83 of them. Or 50.
Cool, 83?
58, 58, something like that.
That's just not right. Good luck with them.
Probably 10 or 11 years old, and growing up in the northwest Arkansas area, and I came across my very first southern copperhead.
You guys ready for the exciting part now?
And Mom and Dad hollered no, and I kept him in a 10-gallon tank hidden in the back part of Mom's little reptile room she had Dad build for me. That way they couldn't see him, and I held on to him for a couple of years before Mom and Dad figured out I had him.
These are the longest fang snake on record. They can actually have fangs over 2.5 inches long when adults. And that's like your finger. Well, I guess I started getting interested in snakes when I was about 10 years old. Before that, I was terrified of them. And we used to have a guy that was in the university at Kirksville, Missouri, come out during the summer vacation and help us on the farm that was a snake guy. And so he kind of encouraged me to handle them and stuff, and ever since then I really got a fascination with them. This is actually an albino black snake. And time I was 14 years old, I was shipping cobras to me. And my folks didn't like it too well, but they knew that I was safe with them, and as long as my dad knew they weren't in the house, he was okay with live action right there. And now the more dangerous they are, the more I like them. They think I'm a little crazy, you know, and I've had a lot of them say they're afraid of a tornado coming through. It's going to disperse them all over the neighborhood. It can, but I tell you what, these snakes here, there's none of them in here would ever be able to survive here.
I was 7 when I had my first snake, when it turned out to be a venomous snake. Yeah, Barney, the ball python that doesn't have a name, Mr. Rattle, Sherbert, Violet, Bangkok, and what's your female's name? Midnight? Yeah. Then I got my first cobra when I was 17. Cobras, in my opinion, are my favorite venomous. They're intelligent snakes. They have that cool hood on them. So you got a bunch of different species, and they're just smart, and they're just like the best ones to work with, in my opinion. They think I'm crazy, I think, for keeping them, but then, yeah, everybody comes to my house to see them and then start asking me questions about them, so I start answering them and show them that they aren't as bad as people think. And I'm known throughout this town, like everybody knows it. Cops, mayor, everybody.
A good myth with this particular snake to solve is this snake's roughly 3.5 years old, captive bred. As you guys can see, she's never broken her rattle. count her rattles, she's roughly over 10 years old. So the whole count of snakes rattles, it's a myth. They collect them as they shed, a little at a time. I got bit by a Mojave rattlesnake when I was 16 years old. Put me in the hospital for 18 days overall. I didn't have any bad skin rupture, a lot of bad swelling, respiratory issues. It was a mild envenomation, but overall, it taught me not to stick my hand down the tortoise hole no more in California.
But it's fun to open this cage because he can actually jump halfway up striking. So it makes it really interesting opening that cage. I've been bit hundreds of times by non-venomous snakes, even up to 12-foot, 100-pound pythons, and that's not fun. But I've only been bit once in almost 50 years of handling venomous snakes by the 4-foot rattlesnake I still actually have 5 years ago. Even though I have them, I had human nature, I was starting to panic a little bit. And but I never felt no pain, and that wasn't right because you're supposed to feel the burning immediately. But I went on to the emergency room just to find out what, just to be on the safe side. I had to tell the paramedics or the emergency people what to do. They did not know here at this hospital what to do for snake bite.
Several of the animals in my collection are actually rescues. Now this right here is a wild import. I got her from another local keeper a few years ago. When I got her, she was extremely parasite ridden and is just now starting to put on the weight that she should have had to begin with from being imported. I try to work close with Missouri Department of Conservation, Arkansas Fish and Game, Oklahoma Fish and Game to be a reset, a help. Some of them come from the internet access through different dealers, pet stores, which it's expensive that way because of the precautions in shipping, the background to make sure the individual selling you the reptile wants to make sure that you're capable and competent to own it. And then some are actually local rescues, local catches. I don't try to take from the environment with them.
Shake that tail at me, buddy.
But if they're considered a nuisance animal and they're gonna be killed and I don't have the means to relocate them right then to where I believe they'll be safe, then overall they'll come here.
And in fact, we had front page news last year, and it even made one national paper where a friend of mine 20 miles south of here kept finding copperheads consistently at night because they are more nighttime animal in the summer. We went out there and 12 nights we picked up 118 copperheads out of his yard. And we don't know how, we didn't go any more out there because the weather started cooling off in the evening, but he did find more even after that. He has lived on that property 5 years and he usually sees a couple of dozen a summer, but why the mass number, we do not know. Because they're not migrating animals again, they only know their own home little area. So these snakes have always been there, but why hadn't they showed up years before? We don't know. That's a mystery. And what we do is we take these snakes way off his property, and we have other properties that the people don't mind them there at a denning area where they're already there, and we have released them like that just to save the snakes because I'm out to preserve the snakes in any way I can.
People always ask me, what good is a snake? You know, why should we even support them being in the environment? Because they're obviously so dangerous, right? Well, first of all, they're not that dangerous. Most people that are bitten by them actually try to get bitten or are not paying attention to what they're doing. But on the other hand, they provide critical ecosystem services in terms of rodent control. Okay, so where does that get you? Well, one thing, it keeps the rodents down so they aren't eating crop and they aren't eating stored grain, for example. The other thing it gets you that people don't ever think about is a reduction in the capacity of rodents to serve as disease vectors. Okay, so what are the major diseases we know of that are rodent vectored? Well, there's a bunch of them. There's hantavirus, there's bubonic plague, both of which, by the way, are present in the American West right now. And one that people don't usually think about is tick-borne ailments like Lyme disease, ehrlichiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. The nymphs of those ticks develop on rodents, and rodents do in fact carry some of those diseases. the deer carry the diseases. And the more rodents that are out there, the higher the probability that those ticks are going to end up carrying the disease. So the rattlesnakes are actually doing a really good job of keeping those rodents from blowing up. If they weren't there, they're major predators on small mammals, and if they weren't present, the populations of small mammals would be huge.
I tend to find that my efforts seem to pay off more if I have a younger audience. And I will never give up on working positively with someone who's a little bit older age, but I really feel like my best efforts as far as helping people understand and learn and preserve and respect and save these spectacular and fascinating animals is with kids, with children. And they don't lack an interest, and they're more ready to absorb information about these animals rather than having a wall that you have to work through first. I keep educational specimens that I use for various programs that I teach people and mostly youngsters, where I use these educational animals to teach about the local reptiles and amphibians that we have. And I do, with my collection, I do have local native venomous snakes that I show as well. Okay, so a couple of things you might notice is that it has banding on the tail. That is a visual warning along with buzzing, so that it can say, don't tread on me, and it really means it.
And then you can go right on into the turtle room there. There ain't been too many fatalities from these turtles now, so it's a lot safer. Usually they ask, are they all caged? And I said, I think so. I usually tell them, but you just need to watch your step as you go in, teasing them. So yeah, you can see a lot of different expression on people's faces when they do come in. So a lot of them terrified. In fact, I have people in that are nervous, and they in here a while, and we take snakes out even though they're starting to get really spooked having that snake out. But usually it'll be parents that are nervous and the kids are not, and the kids will handle the snake then. Well, they probably feel like in their own mind, if the kids can do it, I can do it. And you know, if they're in here long enough, they're handling it, and they just by learning. And they get over a lot of that fear just by just having a chance to get to handle them and stuff.
The typical action of the venom of the colubridae is neurotoxic with paralysis, while that of the viperidae is cytolytic with hemolysis, hemorrhage, and tissue destruction.
There are two major classifications of venom within are the so-called hemotoxic venoms, which mostly affects tissue, more of a local digestive kind of action that these venoms generally have. Neurotoxins are types of venoms that have special molecules that actually affect the nervous system.
Neurotoxins have components that interfere with functions of neurons, and the cool thing about neurons is that each neuron is an individual cell, and they communicate to each other using a gap between them that chemicals move back and forth through, called a synapse. And the neurotoxins all sort of attack the functioning of neurons at the most vulnerable point, which is the synapse.
This is the snake. It's gonna bite you.
Then the venom will travel around and affect different parts of the body. And so kind of worst case scenario is that as that venom moves through, there can be maybe difficulty breathing, And then as the venom takes effect, then you have issues of things like kidney failure and liver failure. These kind of issues can happen. If we look at the local species in Arkansas, to start with, all of the venomous species that we have, there's 6 total, 5 of those, with the exception of coral snake, are going to mostly carry the hemotoxic type venom. These are in a group called pit vipers. This is a species of venomous snake called western cottonmouth. One of the defensive characteristics of this one is that it has a pretty strong odor that it can produce. Now, I think out of all the venomous snakes we have in Arkansas, probably has the worst rap, and there's probably more misinformation and myths that get propagated about this species than maybe any of the others. There's more people that think they chase you and come after you than really that don't.
So good, they're bad.
Your relationship with your dog is pure. It's innocent.
Here comes the part where you hope nobody got out of their bags.
Buddy. Buddy's talking to him.
No. A lot of the people in the state will buy off online or go to reptile shows and get animals. I mean, 99% of the people that will go and buy animal probably don't have it. Because they don't put it on the news saying you have to do it. And everything. I mean, nobody knows about the law.
Missouri, they do have to have a $250 permit every year to have dangerous animals.
By law, I had to register my animals as dangerous animals moving into the state. They're legal. They're completely legal for me to own. But per county and state ordinance, they have to be registered with local law enforcement.
So far, Arkansas hasn't got into that, and if we had to buy a license, that's no problem. Now, Arkansas, I can sell a venomous snake or whatever, long as he's not native to the state, but all our state reptiles are protected, even though they're not got no hunting season on them or anything like a squirrel, deer, turkeys. They still are a protected non-game animal. So you just can't go out here, collect them and sell them for profit. That is very illegal.
Hell no. I mean, it's not going to stop people. I think they only made that because of the Florida problem. Well, Florida already took care of it, and you can't bring them into the state anymore, and if you have them, they have to be chipped. So, and people are going to own what they want to own. I mean, if you drive to a show in Oklahoma and you bought a yellow anaconda and brought it back to the state, all you have to do is say, I bought it off Craigslist. I mean, what evidence is there? Just probably 1,000 people doing it right now.
Our hobby's falling apart, and it's falling apart around us, and it's our fault it's happening. No one else is to blame. It's just, in my opinion, just that simple.
On the internet here a while back, this one goofy guy that looked like he's on meth, picking up one of them gaboon vipers free-handed. Stupid. But see, they do that, and then people want to do it because he's doing it, you see. And there, again, it plants more bad seed for us because you got show-offs. like that.
If someone needs to keep a venomous snake to project a macho kind of perspective or macho image, and them having a venomous snake helps their image, that's one reason for keeping venomous snakes that I'm actually opposed to.
Too many of us spend too much time fighting with each other, too much time criticizing, too much time belittling. We don't look at what the overall effects are going to be. You know, I don't try to turn a person down. I run into a scenario. I've ran into scenarios before with actually several of my cobras that I own, where somebody who wasn't ready to own this snake had them. I didn't belittle, I didn't threaten, brought them in, taught them, showed them the precautions.
The keeping of venomous snakes as a hobby is an inherently risky thing to do. I totally understand it because I have been fascinated with those animals for my entire life, and I understand the fascination. It's interesting, you know, you can almost become obsessed by something that you see as being a beautiful, fascinating, functionally amazing creature. And it's inspiring to see them do what they do on close range. So I get that. I think that keeping of venomous snakes is a freedom that carries with it a huge responsibility.
Now, anywhere where you don't have 100% control of the animal, or even in here I don't have 100% control of my animal all the time. I mean, you have your moments, but if you don't have that controlled situation, and it's Darwin's effect. You put yourself and everybody else in a bad situation for no reason other than either it be ignorance or pride. And both will get you killed in this hobby.
When you're messing with these, it's like you have all that danger, and like, I mean, they have the power to kill you. And every time you handle them, it's like you're gonna get killed. So it's like tempting death, pretty much. I mean, if you mess up, you're getting bit, everything. So it's like a grenade, because if it goes off, your ass is screwed.
This one is only a year old and she's already 7 foot. They're born 3 feet long because the anacondas are so big.
Snakes are interesting in that so many people seem and report that they have a terrifying fear, a phobic fear of snakes. One view is that we do perhaps have some kind of innate fear from our ancestry who may have encountered and developed innately and evolved innately a fear that we all have.
It's hard to tell whether his selection meets with his sister's approval or not, but it's easy to see the Reptile Institute has one more satisfied customer.
You know what, I see it with people that's coming in here and they got like little kids that are probably anywhere from 3 to 6 years old or so, and they say, oh, that one's bad. Stay away from that if you see it. You see, right then, that's where this fear comes from.
A child isn't born afraid of a reptile, isn't born afraid of a snake. I mean, we have an instinct to beware of them. It's taught, brought down, passed down. Then you have the religious fear of it. People, you know, with like Christianity, people believe the snake is a sign of evil, a sign of the devil.
The fact that the snake represents temptation and evil in some way. I've sort of struggled with this for my entire life, you know, in some sense.
Some people call me good, some people call me bad, some people call me, and I always come.
The story gets established, and then the way that story lays out in the future is it colors people's perceptions of what the symbology that's used in it actually mean. So I think snakes have taken a bad rap for a long time because of one stupid apple.
Eres Diablo. Well, I'm you and you're me, we're all burning in
After 40-some years of doing it, I am really pretty proud that I'm able to got a collection like I have. I just love my snakes and I want to teach. That's what I felt ever since I was 14 years old.
Try to scare you away. Because they don't want to fight or bite you. They prefer to hide and run away. But if that's all they have to do, they're going to do it. It's what I like to do. I've always had a passion for it. I know what I'm doing and I've been doing it for a while. That I should be able to keep doing it. People that are terrified always like shows. They think they're cool and interesting, but so no good reason to be scared.
Yeah.
Now spiders, on the other hand.
My passion with reptiles will probably die when I do.
Oh, he's a big boy.
There's ways to keep the hobby safe, to keep it secure. You just have to be willing to go that step. And for those who choose not to, it's a personal choice. It's their call. I mean, I don't look down on them for it. Everybody has their own reason, but I'll probably stop handling mine when I can't handle them no more.
Now he wants to attack.
I mean, that's something straight out of Africa.